You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 110 of Retired Racehorse Radio on the Horse Radio Network, part of Equine Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products and Cashel Company. Retired Racehorse Radio is your guide to the adoption, care, and training of the retired racehorse. Brought to you in cooperation with the Retired Racehorse Project and New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program.
Today, we chat with Kim Veenstra of the Mobile Confidence Clinic and how encouraging curiosity and safe boundaries can help your retired racehorse transition confidently into their next career. We catch up with Making the Makeover writers, Julia Jesu and Clare Mansmann. And while we will not have new vocations on this week, Winnie Morgan Nemeth is at the AQHA Youth World Show. We will introduce a new Vocations Adoptable Horse of the Week. Stay tuned.
And they're off on Retired Racehorse Radio, the podcast that is your guide to the adoption, care, and training of the retired racehorse.
This is Joy Orr in Detroit, Michigan.
And this is Kristen Kovach-Bentley in Jamestown, New York, and you're listening to Retired Racehorse Radio.
Kristen, I'm so excited because I have to admit, I've had a very slow horse girl summer, which I'm okay with. It's been relaxing because other parts of my life have not been so relaxing. It's okay, everyone. It's just work stuff. It's not anything crucial. But I actually had a fun weekend, and you had a fun weekend.
You got to go.
We both have content.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I was like, wait, do we? Yeah, because I took a bunch of video that I haven't done anything with. So, eventually.
Eventually it'll make its way to the interwebs. But I'm just excited, like, oh my gosh, me and my horse did something that wasn't just hanging out and chilling, which is good to do. But sometimes you want to have something a little more spicy, a little more fun. So before I get into all my shenanigans, because that'll lead up to our first guest today, tell us about what you did.
Oh, well, we had another ranch horse show. So our third of 4 shows in that series. So
still crushing it.
Yeah, we had a really good time. We're the only 2 people in like the thoroughbred cattle division. So, it's always Eric and Kristen, 1, 2, well done us. But it is fun because, like Jobber's doing really well in the bridle and Eric is progressing like miles every show. And this show we debuted Camp High Tie, which was really fun. I think we've been talking
working
about
on that
ages. Yeah, I know. It's been like the biggest lead up ever. So we set up our high tie, like we made a point to get there really early so we could pick good trees, because like no one else does this. So we're like, well, we have to get there because no one else is going to be conscientious of like where they're parking. And we don't want people to park in front of the right trees. So got there early, set it all up, put the horses on it. They were just like, this is great. And they were happy to chill there. And then we had like a weekend of terrible weather. So they actually didn't get to spend that much time on the high tie because we were constantly like running back and forth from the stalls to the high tie. So nobody would like get rained on or struck by lightning. And then by the end of the weekend, everything was going great. And then the facility managers drove by and were like, we don't like this. You can't use that anymore. So Camp High Tie is dead. Long live Camp High Tie. But it was really fun while it lasted. But yeah, we're not allowed to use it anymore, which is a giant bummer. So
that is a bummer, especially for the amount of work you put into it. But, safety first at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of ironic because the facility guys do a great job. So I don't want to like throw them under the bus too much because they're not here to defend themselves. But they're like, well, you really tore up the ground. And I'm like, guys, we got like 3 inches of rain this weekend. And literally behind them, I'm like looking at them on my golf cart. And behind them is like a trench where a truck had gotten stuck in the field across from us. And I was like, are you for real? You're going to tell me like your horse dug up the ground a little bit and there's like a foot deep trench full of water behind you, but whatever. So that was kind of annoying, but if nothing else, at least like now we have high tie equipment if we decide to go horse camping and the horses have a new life skill. So kind of a weird, like long con way to learn all that, but it's fine. We'll figure it out. Fine. We just have to go back to the drawing board for the last show, but we had a good time.
Well, there's always, calmer CBD.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, they'll just be tied to the trailer instead of tied to the high tie.
Yeah,
it is what it is. It's just like, that was really cool. And everybody else thought it was really cool. And we were actually going to like bring a fire pit next time and have like Camp High Tie, like social hour. And now we're not going to. So
I think you really just need to like create a whole riot and get a social following behind you who will support you for this cause. Like we'll make t-shirts.
Oh yeah, that'll go over great with the old guys
It's gonna
that
go
run
over
that
awesome.
facility. Yeah, super fun. Great idea. Really a good way to make friends and influence people.
Maybe I'm just choosing violence. That's okay. That's okay.
It's fine. But what about you? You had a great weekend. I was snooping on your
did.
social.
Yeah, it was good. And I was happy my horse didn't choose violence this weekend. It was very helpful for that. So we signed up for a mobile confidence clinic, which I'm excited because our guest today is the host of that, Kim Veenstra. And she was so wonderful. I was very excited to invite her to be a part of the show. But it was interesting because I really thought Astrid, I'm going to back up. So the week before, I got some interesting texts that my horse had been a hell child, quote. And I was like, well, what does that mean? She's normally so well behaved. Apparently, we were rearing and striking for the farrier. We were screaming a lot. I later learned they took her best friend to our other training barn. And she did not handle that well. She was in mourning and did not want to be told what to do, which is fair. But every time I went out there, Kristen, she never did that. She was a perfect baby angel. So
that's like super annoying though, when you have a problem with very specific circumstances and you
yes, and I'm just like,
fix it. Yeah.
I would come out the next day after getting a text of her being naughty and stepping on people and not paying attention. And I come out and she's like, hi, how are you? I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's like partially gratifying because you're like, oh, she's happy to see me.
Well, that's what I said. I
no,
directly looked at them.
Do
and I
the
was
thing.
Like, I don't think she's the problem in this situation. I think it's you. And they're like, what? So I was like, sorry, she just doesn't like you. And I laughed.
I mean, fair. Tell it like it is, maybe.
I mean, she knows she's allowed. It's been shared on the show. She knows she's allowed to express how she feels and she will not be silenced. And that's fine.
Yeah, as long as she can do it without punching someone in the head,
Again,
preferably.
I have not had issues, but what a
Everybody
perfect time.
Just wear a helmet.
Exactly. What a perfect time that we found out very last minute we were having a mobile confidence clinic at our barn. I was like, fine. So I signed her up and I kind of thought, I figured she'd get through the ground portion fine. She'll walk pretty much anything with me. She trusts me from the ground. It's the saddle portion. We're not as confident. She doesn't really want to lead things. She wants to be led. So it's like, well, at least get through the first part and hopefully be able to tackle one obstacle from the saddle. And I'd be really content. She was asleep in her stall when I got there. So when I brought her out of her stall to bring her into the arena with all the foam pool noodles and the water obstacles, there was a thing with rubber duckies they had to step on and plastic bottles and bridges. Her eyes were so big. She was like sweating. I saw her little heart going. She was like, what is all this? I'm like, it's going to be fine. And then she calmed down in like 2 minutes and then didn't blink an eye at any obstacles. We got through everything effortlessly. And I was like, well, that was boring. That was uneventful.
Well, and honestly, from the descriptions of Astrid, I would not have expected her to just be like, oh, yeah, okay, cool.
No. But again, I was pretty confident with the ground, not that confident, but I figured that would go fine. So then it was time to tack up. And again, nothing, no content to offer. She was a perfect horse, went through the water obstacles after Kim's like, you'll be happy if you get 1 foot in. And Astrid just walks across. And she's like, should we do it again? You want to do it again? Okay. We did like 8 times.
Next step, the pond.
Oh my God. I know. That was her goal. That's her dreams, not mine. We walked across the water bottles. We got through rubber duckies. She actually likes those and tries to pick them up. It's kind of weird. The bridge, she had some hesitations because one moved up and down and she wasn't quite sure, but she just liked to stand in it and balance and then would walk off. And I'm like, interesting. And she did knock over the trash cans trying to see if there was food in them. So, I mean, there was different.
Confidence is maybe not her problem.
Confidence isn't the problem. I think it's a matter of willpower and effort is what I'm learning. We did have one baby spook, had nothing to do with the obstacles. A turkey fell out of a tree in the nearby woods.
Oh, fell out of a tree. Okay.
Yeah.
That's basically
jumped down.
A bowling ball with feathers. So
yep. That made her trot off into the distance a little bit. So
fair.
So we had a little action, but not anything from the obstacles. But truthfully, I was really happy with it. We got a lot of compliments, mostly that we had very clear boundaries established, which I put a lot of work into those boundaries. And more importantly, is that she seemed to have a lot of trust in me when she's not the most confident horse, but she was confident with me. And that made me feel good. So very excited to have Kim on and kind of discuss what that clinic can offer for all of our listeners. Before we dive into that, Kristen, I'm more excited to talk about what we have planned for next weekend's content.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Joy's coming. You guys, Joy's coming.
I'm going to play Western at Kristen's.
It's going to be great. I'm going to put her in a cowboy hat. Just kidding. Bring your helmet.
Yes. I actually think I will be driving to your house the day this is released. So if you're listening on the 25th, I will be on my way to Kristen's. And more importantly, I am putting the boyfriend to work as well at the ranch. He is going to get on a horse. Lots of content will be made. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we've got the perfect horse for him. He's going to ride Gandalf. He's going to have the best time. Actually, I'm super excited for Eric and Zach Eric and Zach finally get to meet.
I know. I think they're going to have a really great bro time. And I will, of course, bring you pie.
And well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, they're both kind of like foodie dudes. So I think you and I are going to be able to just like sit back, have a cocktail, and they can cook.
It's going to be epic. I really can't wait. So hopefully we have good weather, but even if we don't, we're horse people and we get through it.
We'll do so. So
we
got some cows to move. We have all sorts of stuff to do. So
yes. And you're going to show me how to wear my wild rag.
Oh, yeah.
I've been putting it in my hair, to be honest. It's been a very
I bet
cute
that's
hair
super
accessory.
cute though. Okay, great.
But yeah, so I'm excited for that. So content to come. We have a lot for today's show, but before we dive in, we're going to hear from our premier sponsor, Kentucky Performance Products.
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
If you've ever had a horse with diarrhea, you know what a frustrating problem it can be. Finding an ingredient that works to dry up the diarrhea becomes a high priority. It turns out that researchers have found one, a yeast called Saccharomyces boulardii. It has been proven to improve and halt episodes of diarrhea. It supplies specific nutrients to the lining of the small and large intestines, and these nutrients promote healing of irritated tissues. It also supports improved starch and sugar digestion in the small intestine, reducing the opportunity for imbalances to occur in the hindgut. Nalox Advanced, made by Kentucky Performance Products, contains Saccharomyces boulardii, along with a blend of fermentation solubles and stomach buffers. Nalox Advanced is recommended for horses of any age that are suffering from diarrhea. It also supports a healthy digestive tract in horses at risk for gastric or colonic ulcers, such as performance horses or any horse that is constantly on the go and exposed to stressful situations. For best results, Nalox Advanced should be fed on a daily basis.
This Nutritional Minute has been brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. You can find all of their terrific products at kppusa.com.
Well, I am super excited to welcome our first guest of today's show. We have Kim Veenstra, and she is from the Mobile Confidence Clinic. And I had the pleasure to take one of her clinics this last weekend. I know I talked a little bit about it in our intro today. I know some of our auditors through Horse Radio Network have taken clinics with her. She has helped thousands of horses, I feel like, and riders build confidence with each other. And we are super excited to welcome her to Retired Racehorse Radio. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So happy to have you. I have to say, it was a very unique clinic to do. I've heard a lot of great things about it, but to kind of see everything up close and how silly the obstacles look to us as people. There's all the pool noodles and flags and tarps and things that we don't think anything about. But I remember walking my horse right out to it and seeing her eyes get really big. Can you tell us a little bit about why horses may react to everyday objects a little differently than we do?
Well, I think the main thing is just how they see things. They definitely don't see like we do. They don't have binocular vision, so they have monocular where each eye sees independently. And they're wired for movement. And the flight happens first, and then the thinking happens after that. So when they first come out there and see everything rustling and, making noise and moving, their automatic instinct is to be scared. And I always say horses are scared of two things that move and things that don't. So it's about everything. But the thing that I really want to teach people is it's all about trust. And once you get the trust from the horse and you trust your horse, the partnership just blossoms. So it's basically remarkable once you get to that point in your journey with your horse. Is the more things you can expose them to, the more the things that they see, and don't become so scared and feed off of how you're taking it, the better your partnership will become.
Completely agree with that. I was actually saying earlier in our intro that I was almost disappointed that my horse handled everything so well, but it was also a really great testament too of everything we've worked on. With the design of the Mobile Confidence course, what helped you create some of those interesting obstacles? Because I mean, there was everything from having to walk under pool noodles, so you had the big flags, pool noodles that are wrapped kind of around their legs, water bottles they walk over. What helped you identify some of these everyday objects would be good to desensitize to?
Well, I always think about, with horses, the zones of the horses. And I know overhead stuff can be scary for them. So that's why, I do the car wash. And the car wash, I have different levels of it. And what you saw was level 1 with the pool noodles. It gets harder that the tarps, are a more solid vinyl that they can't see through. And then things touching their side. We know horses are born claustrophobic, so tight squeezes are hard for them. And, the most important thing is their feet. So things they have to step on and step over, and why their feet is usually one of the most common things they're unconfident with is because their feet is their flight. So they have to be able to run. And if they, sense anything that could hurt those feet, they're going to be, skeptical of it. So the more things you can do, I have some horses that go through a lot of the bridges and the teeter-totters, and sometimes their back feet never even touch it, because that's usually the more confident is their back, or unconfident is their back feet. But, one thing about racehorses that's interesting, because I've had about 17,000 horses through my course. So I study horses and the breeds. And the one thing I always find with the racehorses is they're very confident with their feet, just being able to run. Now, the other stuff, the stuff overhead or the squeeze stuff that they got to squeeze through, very hard for them, but their feet, very confident.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense. Yeah. That your feet are life, I guess, to a racehorse, feet are the job. So I like how you break that down into zones or like types of obstacles and not, specific obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. We run into this a lot with the Thoroughbred Makeover. I work for the Retired Racehorse Project by day. So our Thoroughbred Makeover event, we have a competitive trail discipline, which is loosely based in equine trail sports, but it's a lot of different kinds of obstacles. And every year the trainers all want to know, well, what obstacles are going to be on the pattern? And we tell them, well, we're not going to tell you specifically which obstacles, but here are some types of obstacles. And people really want to know which obstacles specifically. And what I always tell people is we try not to teach to the test. Mm-hmm. So I like your way of approaching it of there's obstacles for your feet. There's obstacles for overhead. So how does that apply, from one type of obstacle to another? If a horse is confident, maybe through a shower curtain, how does that apply to other similar obstacles that might be a little bit different?
I always say that it's really not about the obstacle. It's about the trust. And I tell people, Joy, when you did it and your horse did so well, it's a lot of the human, it's how the human is looking at the obstacles. And before my clinic, I always walk the humans through to say, okay, this is kind of, where to be, why to be, how to do it. Because if I set that up and you're confident with it, then the horses are. So usually at the end of the day, I usually will look around and say, everybody was very confident, the horses, and it comes from the human. The horses do good because of the humans. So right. It's not about really the obstacle to me. It's about the trust the horse has in the human.
I'm going to make every makeover trainer listen to that. Who's
I know, I think it transposes completely though. I always think like when I show, because I've mostly shown green horses, I'm the one who gets volunteered as tribute to do that.
Yeah.
And my mindset always is like, worst case, we get disqualified. Worst case, we bolt out of the arena and we're heading back to the trailers. Like, who knows what's going on? And I'm going to laugh the whole way because they're here to learn. If as the moment you take the pressure off yourself to perform a certain way, you perform better. And that's confidence in yourself. And your horse feels that too. And they let out that big sigh, like, okay, we're here. What's going on? What do you need me to do? And I totally agree with you that the trust and the partnership is there. I'm going to backtrack to the racehorses for a second because standardbreds don't have this stereotype as much as thoroughbreds do. But right off the track, they are known to be flighty and spooky and looky and all those things. Do you think it's appropriate to start these types of clinics early on? Or would you say, get a couple months, get a year or so under with your horse and then do a clinic like this?
No, I think it would help to do it earlier because I always say I do it for two reasons is of course the trust, but the other thing is I want the human to see what's under the hood of the horse when the horse gets scared. I want everybody to ask themselves, could I ride that?
Yeah,
because it's going to happen. It's going to happen somewhere. I'm just bringing it out. And it's really interesting because the obstacles will bring out holes in the foundation. And I can usually tell what is lacking, what was missed and where the hole is. And a lot of it will recreate itself out there. And I can try to help the human on what that horse needs in its life. When I get a new horse, I usually start the next day. This is the program, this is what we're going to be doing. And the sooner you can do it, the more trust the horse will have in you. And, there's caveats to all that. I want to make me the safety, right, in the partnership. I want to be the safety. And people say, well, how do you get there? How do you become the safety? And it's about knowing what the horse needs from you. And we know that they don't think like we do. They think, a lot of the opposite of what we're opposites, right? They're prey and we're predators. So if, you can become fair and you can set very clear boundaries. And I know, Joy, we talked a little bit about boundaries last weekend. And the quicker you can start doing this with the horse, the more centered and the more trusting he will become in you. And I see so many holes and so many things that could be better. And I'm an advocate for the horse. I really try to do this so the human will start to learn more and to really study horses of how they think and feel and act and what they need. And, a lot of people say, well, they need food. Well, no, they need to feel safe. Because if they don't feel safe, they're not going to eat or drink or play So it's, I hope that I could help, 10% of the people. That's always my goal. And that's about what it is that the people who will call me after a clinic and say, man, Kim, I'd like to get better. And that's the people I'm looking for.
That's awesome. And this is why she's on our show today.
Right.
Well, it takes a lot of self-awareness too to want to make that phone call, to say to admit like, okay, I have some holes in my training or, I have some holes in my experience and I need to, to get better. Yeah. So, and that's one of those things like, until you try it, you don't maybe know. And I think a lot of people maybe aren't tempted to do that sort of cross training, right? Like they're like, my horse is a show jumper. My horse runs barrels. Like that is his job. I don't need to do the obstacle stuff because that's not what we do. But that's where I think you're really smart to name it the confidence clinic and not an obstacle clinic, because like you said, it's not about the obstacles. It's about, the confidence. So.
It really is. Yeah. And I had a horse that had a really bad start. I got him about 20 years ago. And that's kind of why I started this is, what could I do to make him trust me more? And this was a horse that, probably saw death in his past. And that was the only thing I could do, and I had to do it right. And he really taught me how to be the leader he needed. And it took time, but it worked.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One thing that I want to mention that I thought was interesting, Kim, at the clinic is you talked about maybe not using treats as reinforcement in this confidence too. Now, all our listeners know I definitely use treats with my horse. It's been part of her positive reinforcement training. And prior to you, Kim, when I first got her, she was extremely spooky, like very anxious. So I actually would have her follow me around through barn chores, and like I became her herd, and I would put cookies on objects that made her nervous so she'd look for them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where that got started. So it's a little different. But can we talk a little bit about maybe why there's other types of rewards that might be better than a treat?
Yeah. We all know horses can only think of one thing at a time. They can't think of two things. So they can't think of scary food, all this, like, all at the same time. It's usually a one track. And what I have seen is it becomes more for the treat and not so much about the trust of what the human is asking. And I've seen it backfire where a horse got into a pickle. This was out on the trail, and it was a really bad situation where the horse, it was a simple thing, but he was never able to work through it because there was always a treat instead of him using his brain to try to work through it. Does that make sense when I'm saying that?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah. The horse is just fixated on the reward, but
it's like a pacifier, like a temporary soother, but not actually fixing the issue.
Exactly.
Yeah. No comprehension is happening. Yeah.
Exactly. And they like to think, and I've seen where horses became very dominant about the treat and got very demanding, like you give me, and they were pawing at the human, and it was scary stuff like that. So I am okay with a reward if it's a food driven horse.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a flighty horse and real scared horse versus a dominant, overly confident horse that thinks things can be kind of stupid. This doesn't make sense. Why do I got to go through this noodle? Very, very confident in who he is. That could be a little bit of a food driven, you could they might give a little more for you. But on horses that got a lot of fear in them, I don't, like you said, it's kind of like that pacifier. It's going to come out somewhere.
I agree. I think while I do use treats for mine, I was using more verbal cues of soothing and petting her throughout. And I think I only gave a handful of treats when she was very, very calm and we were waiting our turn to do something else.
Yeah.
And I felt that was very positive. Like she wasn't searching my pocket. She wasn't distracted. But I think we as people, especially women, and I don't mean to stereotype that way, but being nurturers, want to soothe when our horse is in distress. And what soothes us? Well, I know I really like a glass of wine or a snack or ice cream.
I must be missing that gene because now I feel better that I don't use treats very often. I use the treat as like a thank you for not killing me at the end of the ride.
Yeah, that's how it is. Like I've weaned my horse down, or we use lots of treats, and now it's like maybe she gets 3, one at the beginning, one in the middle, one at the end. And that's mostly because she's food oriented. But
well, the thing with treats too is a lot of people don't realize what they're rewarding. When you get off the horse, a lot of people give them. So what is that telling the horse?
It's good for you to get off.
If we're working on trailer loading and they get the horse off the trailer and go let it eat grass, so it's actually doing the opposite of what, you're teaching the horse that this is better out here. That's how
right.
So,
the reward is leaving the thing that's a challenge at that point. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
As opposed to maybe walking around for a minute, be with me. And now it's okay to relax. Because it only needs a couple seconds to imprint.
Yeah. You got 3 seconds to do the reward, but a lot of horses, you got to realize horses are lazy. So they would rather sometimes that reward is just to do nothing, just stand still, or, give them a good scratch somewhere. Or we think of food as a motivator, and to them, it's, safety is more motivational for them, or just to stand there and do nothing. And because we're predators, we like the treats, we like the good job, you did great. But not horse.
We like a participation award.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I know we're coming short on time, Kim, but I would love to offer listeners, ideally they're reaching out to you and seeing how they can get involved with the clinic. But what are some ways they can introduce safely, maybe one or two obstacles? 'Cause I think we can pick anything our horses don't normally see, but just be smart about it. How do you recommend them to try that?
I would get, if you have an arena that you can, put up 2 barrels close, and, even put a piece of thicker plywood on the floor, on the ground, and start just, doing that kind of thing of, to make the stuff that I have. Is that what you're asking, Joy? Is like,
yeah. They don't need to build a whole course, but you can probably pick one or two things. I feel like this, as long as your horse is okayed by your vet, but could even be a good rehab horse project too, as long as it's safe for them.
Yeah, exactly. I like to make things that would look like a trailer, like, 2 barrels on each side with a piece of plywood in the middle, or even poles. Poles, you can make all sorts of designs with them, have them step over them. Always bridges it seems like it's always a good obstacle to have. And I see more barns are getting more obstacles around. So, but of course, just have me come over and I'll set it up for you.
Yeah, highly recommend it. So how can people reach out to you, Kim, to have you come to their barn? Because I feel like you travel just about anywhere.
I do. I usually am mostly Michigan and Ohio. And right now I'm pretty booked up for the year. I don't really have any open days, but I'm booking for next year. And the level that you were at, that was my entry level. And I do have 4 levels, which it just gets harder and harder. And then each level has a gait in it. So what I mean by gait, we do it at a walk, we do it at a trot, and we do it at a canter. So there's many different levels too. And then I'd actually do some judged obstacle challenges, which is really fun. So, but my website is confidenthorse.com. And on Facebook, I have the business page, Mobile Confidence Course. So reach out to me. I'd love to come help horses and humans become better.
Oh, we appreciate it. I know our barn had a great time. I know we've had listeners who have enjoyed your clinic. So Kim comes highly recommended, everybody. We hope you get a chance to book her out. And ideally, I think it'd be fun to have you come back on the show sometime, Kim. So thanks again.
I'd love it. I'd love it. Thanks, Joy. Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you.
I'm here with Tony from Cashel. You all know it from the ads you hear all the time on this show. But we're at the trade show, and this is the point of time in the year where we find out what's new coming out. So what's Cashel have new coming out?
Oh, we've got a great lineup of 32, 34 wool top pads.
So describe them.
5 different colors, real vibrant, bright, sharp-looking pads.
What makes them different?
Well, it's the fill. The wool felt on the inside is a natural felt, and the fleece on the bottom is 100% merino.
Oh, really? Okay. So these are soft and squishy pads.
Well, not real squishy, but soft, and they do absorb shock and saddle fit.
What would they retail for? What are those?
That's about $119.
That's the right price. Yeah. Anything else new with Cashel coming out?
Oh, we've got more saddle pads coming in the fall, new strap line coming in the fall. It's a 2-tone that looks great with a great buckle set on it. We're always in development, so there's so many projects in the works.
What's still your most popular product? Is it still always the same things year after year?
Fly. You bet.
Yeah,
fly
that's what we all.
That's
how I knew you in the first place was fly masks. Yep.
Yeah, many years ago, we were primarily fly masks and kind of had some tush cushions and a few odds and ends. Today, we've broadened that offering to saddlebags, strap, head stalls, breast collars, bell boots, leg protection, and it continues to grow.
Is there a place where somebody can go and see all the products?
Casualcompany.com will give you a good offering.
There you go. Well, thank you, Tony. It's been fun seeing you again.
Hey, thank you. Good to see you.
Well, we are back with one of our favorite recurring segments, Making the Makeover. And this is the first episode after final entry mode that we're in now. So welcome back to the show, Clare Mansmann and Julia Jesu. Welcome back, ladies.
Thank you. Dream Team is back.
Yes, we are.
So I am snooping on the entry list and I see that we have declared some horses, if you're Clare, and declared horses and classes if you're Julia. So Clare, we'll start with you because I see officially you and Tom must have figured out who was showing who.
We did, mostly because the past couple of years, Tom's horses have either sold or had some reason, and I've been riding in the makeover, and I don't want to be the only one working.
Yeah, that's no fun. Much more fun to bring both of you.
Yeah, I mean, he comes, but like this, but like last year was, quite a bit of work. And so I gave him 2, although we'll see if one sells or not. And then like, of course, like horses, things keep happening. We've had, little kicks and all are totally fine. But, the likelihood of all 3 actually going to the makeover would astound me, but watch, they'll all go.
Horses and horse. So
yeah, the horses are going to horse. But like, I have the best 3-year-old ever. So the whole thing is cheating for me. It's fantastic.
Oh gosh.
It's
I
the
don't
greatest
call it
animal.
cheating. I just call it a very nice blessing because
It's
I know a
very
lot of
nice
people
blessing.
who would love a great 3-year-old who might have the brain of a 10-year-old.
Gosh, it's just the most fantastic thing in the world. So I'm having a ball.
Well, and I feel like we've buried the lead on this. So you are officially signed up with Fashion Money.
I am.
Which we never mentioned.
That's true. To be fair, he's 15-1. So Tom could ride him, but it would be
that would look silly.
Funny. Yeah. And I mean, like, he's like short coupled 15-1, not like
lanky.
I mean, he could probably do it. He's pretty well sprung ribs on this little thing. It's not small. It's just small.
But yeah, Tom is like 6 foot 1,000 or something.
He's
right?
6'2", yeah. And so I'm sure he'll ride it at some point when I need him, but it's more appropriate for me. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Nice.
Plus, I'm not giving it up. Just not doing
That's
it.
true. Yeah. Yeah, we know how that goes. So
yeah.
Nice. All right. And I see that he is entered in Show Hunter and Show Jumper. So everything is all systems go for lots of over fences.
Yeah. And it's, I think for the young horses, those are 2 great arenas to just be in, the jumps are small and the hunter ring is great for them. And it's very inviting. And so I think it's a great set of starter rings for them. If one of them, because we have 2 3-year-olds going, if they're tired, we'll scratch the second class when we get, you know what I mean? Like, we're very open to if they don't feel up for it, but we entered both so that they could do either one. And we'll be ready for that. But if, say it gets to the day of and they're just get their little baby tiredness, we'll just scratch one and move on.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine.
Which is great. I mean, yeah, you use the whole thing as a giant schooling and exposure opportunity, which is what it's for. So yeah, bang on. Nice. All right. So Julia, I'm looking now at Indian Counselor's page. He is so handsome. So I see you and
he is, isn't he?
Yes. What a handsome little guy. And he's a painter, which I don't know if I think I knew that, but didn't remember that. But I know painters are known for being very handsome. So that makes sense. It all tracks. So I see you guys have gone for 1 trifecta in eventing and freestyle. So tell me a little bit about that, but don't give your freestyle away because we want to leave that to be.
I want to know.
I have very strict instructions not to talk about the freestyle on the podcast by Summer's mom. I'm not allowed to give it away at all. So you all will have to wait and be surprised. Eventing we are doing. So he's done 1 starter trial. It was pretty good. Well, he's done 2 and they were both pretty good. We have signed up for a 3rd at Fair Hill in 2 weeks. But of course, today he's not sound. So we're just, living the last minute, into the last, couple of months of the makeover dream where all of a sudden you pull him in and he's not sound. But he should be okay. He ripped his shoe off last week for the first time since I've had him. He's he's not hard on himself as far as, I've had ones in the past who are really bad at kind of walking all over themselves in the pasture, or it's hard, this time of year with the flies and they're ripping shoes off left and right. And he's not really tough on himself. So it's the first shoe, knock on wood, that he's pulled since I've owned him and he's taking it very dramatically. Unfortunately.
My leg. Oh, my leg. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly
his whole leg is broken.
Right.
But the farrier came out today, and we got a shoe on him, and he felt a little better. So we've packed his foot. We had planned a hunter show for this weekend to sort of transition him into the world of 2-6 in an easy setting.
Yeah.
But we're probably not going to do that now, which is fine. The height for him isn't a problem. It's just, the steering in between. And I told Summer, she came and had a lesson on him last week, which is when he pulled the shoe. But I told her when she came, we jumped some bigger jumps. And I said, now you understand when I say the height isn't it. It's everything in between the height. We could school cross rails up until the makeover, and he could get to the makeover and be fine at the height. So we're just going to let him have an easy week. And then hopefully he'll be sound for Fair Hill. And if he isn't, that's also fine. And we'll just detour and find something else.
Yep. It's only August. This is the time.
Exactly.
I went through this. Yeah. In 2018, this is when Jobber had like mystery foot soreness ? And then
I feel like that happened to all of our makeover contestants last year. They all had like abscesses or like stone bruises at the same time. And it was the end of August.
Yeah, I think it's like a combination of like mystery foot soreness. It's like they've been pounding around all summer, stomping at flies, like you mentioned. They pull shoes. And then too, like we're all training hard at that time too. So it's like a lot of things all compounding at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll be all right. He'll be great.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a small moment of panic and I had to sort of talk myself off the ledge. Like, he's fine. Everything is fine. And it's going to be okay.
Yeah, it's going to be great. You've got that entry in. Now you can just even if you just bubble wrap them for 2 months, it'll be
exactly.
So, yeah. And I like to, now I've got their entry pages in front of me. So now I can snoop on everything. So he was $170,000 yearling purchase at Keeneland.
He was not a cheap baby.
Yeah. Which is amazing. now it's then now he's going to the makeover, but he earned his keep. So he earned $184,000. So he paid himself back, which is, a lot of times they don't, right? Like you look and you're like, wow, that was a $400,000 yearling purchase and it made like $10,000. That's too bad. But
or no dollars.
Or none. It didn't start at all. Right. So he did well. He paid his way. Now I got
he did. Well, that's why I always laugh because, the whole thing is we get like stuck and he doesn't want to go forward. And I'm like, you made money. You can go forward. You know how to go somewhere.
I always say that the racehorse is the most behind the leg animal. People don't think of it that way. Even the fastest racehorse is very, very behind the leg. And it's fascinating. People never think of it that way, but it gives me the giggles now that it took me a long time to realize that they are fast doesn't mean forward.
Right. It's a different kind of fast and a different way of going. And it is like, they know so much coming off the track, but there are a lot of skills that don't translate or mean nothing off the bat. So here's Cash's page. 1 start, no wins, earnings just says not applicable.
No, he started. He did not finish that race.
Oh, buddy. Oh no.
It was really funny. So he was 15 hands at the time. And he's nicely bred. He comes from a really great farm. And we watched the video of his race and he pretty much just pops his shoulder and tries to go home. And
I'm out.
I swear the jockey was like, guys, I'm like 8 inches below everybody else. I barely fit. He was about as wide as he is tall and just was like, we tried.
Yeah, but who doesn't believe in that is our other Making the Makeover Spotlight horse that I bring up all the time is Hoboken Jack, Adriana's horse. Because that little sucker is 14-3 and he won at Belmont. So
that has a Jack Russell mentality. This Cash does not have a Jack Russell mentality. Cash is like a little tiny Labrador that never grew.
Aww.
And he's wonderful.
That's why he's going to be such a good hunter.
Right. I know he looks like a hunter in this picture that you've got him.
He's adorable over fences.
Knees.
Yeah, he'll do anything.
So what's on the docket for him for the next 2 months, Claire?
So I was telling Julia earlier, I actually got hurt a couple weeks ago. And so I'm just getting, and I don't really get hurt all that often, but it was a bit of a doozy. And so I am It was not on cash. And so he's had a pretty easy, Tom's mostly been ponying him for me. And then I had a bunch of family stuff. So I had a bunch of travel. And so I just got on him the past 2 days again. And first of all, it just made me go like, wow, this thing's fantastic. Like he's been exercising, but it's been pretty light. And at 3 years old, for you to hop on and just, kind of like, he was sort of looked at me funny for a second, like, why are you up there? And then just to be that good, like this horse is truly it makes you really appreciate him. And I think he's just a fantastic animal. So we have not too much the next couple weeks because we've done a lot. I mean, he went to Upperville, he went to a few other schooling shows. So he's really good off property. So I feel very comfortable about that, which is lovely. And actually all of the horses, the cornbred horse hasn't been off much because he's newer, but he will. And so we have the Real Rider Cup coming up, which I did not plan on taking him in the Real Rider Cup. My plan is to keep him because there's the Fair Hill Thoroughbred show after that, and to practice in the Hunter Ring after that. However, that could change and he may end up in the actual Real Rider Cup instead of doing the show. It's a little undecided. It kind of depends on trailer space, quite frankly, as to how we do that. But the Real Rider Cup is coming up. They will definitely go at least for an overnight trip, whether or not they compete in the Real Rider Cup or the Fair Hill Thoroughbred show. The Real Rider Cup is so much fun. So our makeover horses will go, but maybe some more experienced horses will go as well. It kind of depends on clients and stuff like that. So that's the next big one. And then actually prior to that, we've not decided, is the Warrenton Horse Show, which is a really old horse show in this area that we love to support. And they have thoroughbred classes. So we have not entered yet, but that would be the thought, is maybe to take them in the thoroughbred classes at Warrenton, which is just kind of an iconic, everything's built up around it, but the actual show itself has retained its charm and it's really well run. And it's a great, we love to support it. And other than that, just go to the makeover.
All right. You have a lot of moving parts.
Yes.
Our whole life is moving parts or
parts.
Yeah. Or lack thereof. It's one of the
that's
somethings.
kind of right. It's either moving or it's not moving. And it needs to be the other.
Or it shouldn't move.
And I see also that Fashion Money is for sale in the marketplace.
Yes. Yep. All of our horses are for sale. We never really mind keeping them. We're very bad at sales in general. So we try to only take on horses that we don't mind keeping because we end up keeping them for a lot longer than we probably should.
That's fine.
But yes, he is for sale. He will make absolutely. I can't actually say enough nice things about this horse. He's actually 1 in a million.
All right, folks, cool. If a listener buys this horse, then you get a free pass to be a recurring guest forever to come and tell us how he's doing. So a little bonus that we'll throw in with Fashion Money. And so, Julia, who actually owns Indian Counselor? Is he yours or is he Summer's?
He's both of ours.
Okay, great.
So we co-own him. It was a way that we were sort of able to financially make it work for this year. Originally, I had another horse who I was planning to take to the makeover, but he sold, and we still hadn't found one for Summer. And I sort of presented to Michelle, her mom, if you buy him, because I didn't have any money to put out at the time, I can board him at a less cost and do the training like throughout the week, because they live about an hour from me. And then when she comes, I can give Summer lessons on him, and we'll kind of just build that into it. So we sort of co-own him, I suppose. He has a lot of moms. I joke that he has Summer, who's his young mom, who's learning how to ride him. Then he has his Aunt Callista, who runs, my barn, my program. We run it together. Who's his mean mom. She gets on if he needs kind of like a little more aggressive tune-up for something. And then I'm his really nice mom. So he's always really appreciative of me when I get on.
I love all of
really
that.
nice for me. But no, so I would say we co-own him.
So he's not a sales prospect then. He's going to stay in, we'll call it the family. He's going to stay in the family then after the makeover.
He was supposed to be for sale. That was the whole thing. We'll co-own him. We'll do this together. We'll bring him along and we'll sell him at the end of the makeover. And Summer, of course, already loves him. And I said probably a month ago, said to Michelle, I was like, what if we just love him? What are we supposed to do? And she said, what do you think he can be in your lesson program? And I said, probably in a year. She said, okay. So I said, okay. So not technically for sale, and probably not this year. Next year, I think, because he's been a little bit slower to sort of bring along, sort of figure him out, I wouldn't want to market him this year anyway, because I try and find homes where they're either going to be with the person that buys them for a long time, or it's going to be, I try and set it up for success. And I think this first year, we're just sort of really figuring him out. So I sort of was like, let's just keep him for another year. Let's bring him along. He's super athletic. Like, I think this is like, if he did the jumpers, I think he's like a high children's jumper. Like, I think this is a 3.6 horse all day long. If he did the hunters, I think he's easily a 3'3" 3 hunter. If he wants to do eventing, I think he could do prelim. Like, he's super talented. This isn't the right year to market him. Like, he's sort of coming into his own. So I thought, like, let's just keep him going for another year and bring him along. And then if next year we find the right situation, sure, I guess he's for sale and we're all sad, but then it provides us with the money to buy the next one for the next year. And if he doesn't sell, that's also okay.
I love that from like a thoroughbred business perspective, right? Because they're not all, obviously they don't all go through adoption groups. There is a large part of this that is a direct market, but like knowing that it's not the right time for him and that he needs more time and that you guys are set up to give him more time, I think is awesome. Like, it's a very horse first perspective, which is how most of us are at the Makeover. Like, everyone is very horse centric and horse first, but I think that's, it's just nice to hear of like, there's a plan, but it's okay if the plan takes longer for this guy than it might, for someone else. So that's cool.
Yeah, I try with my program. Like, there are a lot of people who get horses in quick off the track. They have a lot of connections and they can sell them in the 2 to 4 week market. And I think those people are great, but it's not what my program is. I want to get to know them. I want to put the time in, and thankfully I own my farm. So I'm not having to pay board on top of it. I mean, it's so expensive to keep them, but it's different when you can guarantee you don't have to spend the money on board so that you can bring them along a little bit slower and you can really get to know them, because it helps you to put them in a home that is going to have them for a long time. So like my horse, who I'd planned to bring to the 2021, the Mega Makeover, he sold literally the week before. His owner sends me updates once a month, just little videos, little pictures, like whatever they're doing. And that's how I try and set up all of my horses, so that I know where they are. If, they're always going to be what I hope is a long-term home. We always hope they're going to someone who's going to keep them forever. But yeah, it's nice that I'm able to do that.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
I'm certainly excited to see both these horses perform. I'm like, I honestly don't understand how ambitious you are, Julie, over doing the eventing. I just feel like that's so much to take on, because I'm a dressage person and like I just struggled getting a 20-meter circle some days.
It's hard enough to do one discipline. Yeah.
I know. So I'm
three. Like, actually 4.
I'm thoroughly impressed by your ambition. And I wish both of you all the success. I'm so excited to see them. And, knock on wood, we have a very eventless last couple of weeks as we lead up to the Makeover.
Yeah. We'd love to have like a boring update next time. You guys are like, we just did everything.
Maybe bring the
we
content down.
Yeah.
Soft content.
That's what I said today. My farrier was so apologetic after he came and put the shoe on and the horse was still sore. And I was like, it's okay. It's for the content.
That really is the theme. It's always content.
That's so good. Oh, I could give a quick content. We had both of Tom's horses randomly through different instances, from like a kick and we think he just slipped and fell in the field, got 2 huge hematomas. Like, they're fine, but I don't really get a lot of hematomas. And Cornbread's, it was on his keister, of course. And this is an enormous animal, and it popped. It was the grossest. And he loved every second of it. Like, he was so happy when we were getting ready to have it drained. And I'm telling you, it was like we could be on, what's the pimple popper show? I think it's Pimple Popper.
I think that's what it's called. Yeah.
I think that's actually what it's called, because I think my mom watches it. And I was like, oh, and of course my daughter was like, did you get a video? It could be content. I was like,
oh my God, we're training them young. I love it. Oh dear. All right. Well, remind us where we can find pimple popping and other content for you, Claire.
Pimple popping on Pacific Farms Incorporated on Facebook, and the handle is Pacific Farms Inc. on Instagram.
Love it. And Julia, remind us where we can follow along with your journey.
So you can find me on my Instagram at Close Up Show Stables, and then on my Facebook under my personal name, just Julia Jesu.
All right, ladies. Well, thanks very much. We will look forward to either eventful or event-free updates again in a couple of weeks. But in the meantime, have fun, keep those horses going, and we'll see you in Kentucky.
All right. Good night, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
As horse owners, we spend a lot of time on the road. Let US Rider help keep you covered. Our equestrian motor plan offers fast, reliable, nationwide service from our highly trained roadside assistance team. 24/7 coverage for both you and your horse. Membership includes horse trailer servicing, towing, flat tire repair, even on dual wheels, battery assistance, and lockout service on any vehicle in your plan. We also have your equine companions covered with referrals for emergency vet services, farrier referrals, and emergency stabling assistance. Get peace of mind on the road for you and your horse. Join US Rider today.
Well, Kristen, there's one thing that everyone knows. When I do my stories on the weekends, I feel like I always start it off with a coffee. Like that is my most expensive addiction with my horses. I always have to get like a Starbucks or a Big B or some expensive coffee that's so unnecessary.
You're so fancy.
It's
Fortunately,
like
I don't
princess
have,
in me.
Yeah, that might be it. I don't have a coffee shop between my house and the farm, which is lucky. So
yes,
yeah,
you are lucky for that. But I know that we had reached out to our listeners to figure out what their coffee orders would be for their horse. But what would you say your horse's coffee order would be?
Jobber is just like a black coffee. I don't even know if Starbucks does that, but he would be like black coffee.
You'd be incredibly boring, but also they'd probably be so grateful for you to order that.
Yeah, he'd be like, hi, black coffee. Like he's a working horse. Like that's his jam. Shorty would be some sort of like weird, fruity, bright colored frap thing with a bunch of whipped cream on it, I think.
Oh gosh. That's fun.
I don't really frequent Starbucks enough to even know what's on their menu. So I know that they make whatever they put in their cold brew, I know makes me feel like I'm drunk. So I have found that out the hard way at multiple staff meetings.
Really?
Yeah. Something like when I'm at the RRP office and we all put in our Starbucks order, my friend and I always get the same, like very large cold brew with no ice in it. And I think maybe it's the no ice that does it. But by the time the day is done, we're like stumbling around. I don't know what is in those things. Starbucks, please let us know.
I found it interesting. Most of our listeners, it was like either something very sugary for their horses, like, the caramel macchiatos or the frappes, like something super sugary was on the option, or like dark only espresso. Jess mentioned she wanted like 3 espresso shots. That's what her horse would get. And that's it. I'm like, my horse would be running laps for days on that. But I thought that was quite interesting. And our girl Lee, of course, is coffee with a little extra in there, if you know what I'm talking about.
Can you get that at Starbucks?
No,
I'm like so backwards. I don't even know what you can order.
I feel like her horse would be keeping that ready in a flask, ready to go.
Yeah, just like pour
add
a little in the back seat.
Yeah, so a black coffee with a little bit of that, which I could totally see for Finn. I had to really think about Astrid's order. I know what I would order. I'm very boring. I'm like a regular, like medium roast coffee kind of girl with a shot of espresso and heavy cream. I'm simple. I'm easy. Maybe a dash of cinnamon on a special day.
I don't feel like that's what I see in your story, though.
Most of the time.
Is that what it is? I always think
I've been doing
something...
I've been doing cold brew a lot.
That's
like
what I'm thinking.
this summer. But typically rest of the year, that's all I'm doing. Very boring. Don't even
just know when you come here next weekend, there's no coffee. I mean, there's coffee, but there's no Starbucks. So
that's fine.
Like, come prepared.
Okay. Appreciate you giving me the heads up. But Astrid would probably do something not caffeinated because she's already anxious as is. She does not need the extra jitters in her life. So when I thought about her order, I'm like, she would probably get like a citrus, like sweet tea type of latte thing. Because it would definitely have to be bougie. It couldn't just be a straight tea. It'd have to be like their citrus honey tea latte to like even her out, be her moody bougie girl self and still feel good about it. So I think that's what she'd order. It has to be something different, special, Instagram worthy. That would be my horse.
Sounds right to me.
It sounds weird to me too, but she's not a coffee gal. That much I am for sure. And she's definitely not chai latte either, but she probably would be a pumpkin spice come fall. I bet she'd be that basic.
All right. Now I am putting a field trip to Starbucks on our list.
Yes.
So you can help me interpret the menu.
Yes. Well, thank you so much to our listeners for participating in it. It's fun kind of learning more about your horse's personality. If you want to be a part of our next poll, should you say, just follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Retired Racehorse Radio. We have fun content coming out. You can see what Kristen and I are up to. And we like to put out fun little polls like that. So check it out.
Final entry is complete for the Retired Racehorse Project's Thoroughbred Makeover 2023. We're super excited to see that we had 404 horses sign up for this year, Joy. It's going to be a big one once again.
So much shopping.
Oh, yeah. So what, for horses or for stuff? Because we got both. There's a vendor fair and the marketplace. So everybody come prepared.
I was thinking the horses though.
Yeah, that too. Yep. Last time I checked, we had 92 horses in the marketplace. Some are up for adoption, some are for sale. So you can come prepared to horse shop. You can stuff shop in the vendor fair. You can watch 2 days of amazing preliminary competition in 10 disciplines. And of course, finale Saturday is where you can see the top 5 in all disciplines do their thing. It's going to be a great show this year. We cannot wait. If you want to take a look at the entry list, go to therrp.org/entries and take a look. You can find all of our Making the Makeover riders on there, as well as some pretty cool horses that are entering their second or third careers. therrp.org/entries.
If you have 1 or 2 horses, or you have 20, 30 or more, fly predators will make the difference between heavy infested fly problem or a no-fly zone. Balding lab fly predators, catching these flies before they become an issue.
Well, Kristen, I'm sad that we don't have Winnie or Leandra today for our normal new vocation segment. It doesn't feel like
training tipless. I know.
I know.
Shoot, what am I going to do now for 2 weeks?
Although we did have Kim on, who I felt offered some really good training tips. So we're not totally training tipless today, but I don't want us to be totally adoptable horseless either. And there are lots of horses to pick from for today for our adoptable horse. With that, we couldn't pick. So we made George do it. George, welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
It's always a pleasure when we force you to be here.
It's not forced. It's technically my job, but I am happy to be here nonetheless.
Well, we appreciate it. And we'd love to hear which standardbred, because that's what we're due for today. Which standardbred you picked from New Vocations?
Alrighty. So I went ahead with Broadmaster. And my reasoning behind picking Broadmaster was because he's actually older than most of the horses here on the list. And I'm really one that likes older dogs and that kind of stuff. So I just kind of was leaning more towards that.
I love it.
That's the perfect reason. I also have a soft spot for older guys. So, let me reword that because that made it sound like I'm into older men. That is not at all what I'm saying.
Welcome to Retired Racehorse.
Yikes.
At night.
Right. Yeah, we're going to leave all that in. That's fine. We're not cutting any of that. So older horses, I appreciate older horses. I like a senior because they just sort of know who they are and they're just happy to be there. And yeah, this guy fits that bill. So good pick, George. So Broadmaster, what's really cool about him, obviously this is not a visual medium, so you guys have no idea what we're talking about, but Broadmaster's chestnut, which is super rare
and
for
a bright
standardbred
chestnut. He almost is the same as my horse.
Yeah, he looks like a little bit like Astrid, or Jobber's not usually quite this coppery, but this is like a copper penny standardbred, which is super
He's got
unusual.
the gold flecks, which is super strange, but he's got a very refined face. Honestly, if it wasn't for his neck, because he's still got the standardbred neck, if it wasn't for that, I would honestly think he's a thoroughbred.
Yeah, I think you could pass this off very easily. Yeah, he is. They even said they're like, we don't have chestnut colored standardbreds come through our program very often. So yeah, he is pretty unusual. I'm going to watch his videos right now because George just sprung this one on us. So I haven't gotten to see this horse move yet. So let's take a look.
He definitely has a great brain, though. He is very easy. He likes to be groomed. He's happy living in any situation, mares or geldings, turnout or stall. So he's just an easy keeper. He is older. He is a 2004, but again, not everyone's looking for a spring chicken. There are a lot of riders out there who are looking for someone who has a little bit more experience. And as Kristen, you said, just knows who they are. And that's exactly what Broadmaster has.
Oh my gosh. While you have been talking, I've been watching this video. His walk and trot video is amazing. This horse is so cute. Joy,
he looks young. Like, he doesn't look like he's about to hit 20 at all. He looks like he's in his teens, and he looks sprightful. And while he's older, he's worn a few different hats in his lifetime, as it says in his profile. And he would have a great low-level future, light arena trail. I also think he'd probably be a really solid lesson horse based on his personality. So anyone who's just learning how to walk trot, he looks pretty solid and reliable. So he could really benefit, I think, a lot of different programs.
Yeah, and still very athletic. I mean, this is a beautiful ground covering trot. He looks like he could, hit the trails, go to a show, be in your lesson program, like be your family horse. Like, this guy's
be a good trail companion, be the husband horse we're all looking for.
And he's chestnut. Like, if you want to join the Cool Kids with Chestnuts Club with me and Joy, this is the horse for you.
And he is the perfect height of 15.2 and the low cost of only $1,000. It's like he's free. So put in your applications
in. Yep. Yes. Horseadoption.com. And you can check out all of the other cool horses at New Vocations all over the country. They've got branches in multiple states too. So, and yes, I know that shipping is sometimes available as well.
Lots of perks. Everyone get those apps in horseadoption.com.
You can find our show notes and links to today's guests on the website at horseradionetwork.com. Like us on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Retired Racehorse Radio. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. You can find me on Instagram at The Horseback Rider and on Twitter at Kristen Kovach. My email is kbentley@therrp.org.
You can find me on Instagram at MissFitMare, and my email is joy@horseradionetwork.com. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Kentucky Performance Products and Cashel Company, and to our partners, New Vocations Adoption Program and the Retired Racehorse Project. Don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network, part of Equine Network, at horseradionetwork.com. Remember to set your goals high and love to learn from every ride.
And always add more leg.
Bye, guys.